Let's talk about clean eating and natural fixes to constipation. Hi everyone and welcome back to Clean Eating Kitchen. I'm Carrie. I'm a certified holistic nutritionist and I also have a master's degree in public health. And we are going to be talking about natural ways to help prevent and address constipation. This is not medical advice, it's for general educational purposes only, but I do have a lot of information I want to share with you. And there are so many reasons for constipation, and constipation affects a lot of adults. I have some statistics. Up to 16% of adults in the United States and up to 1 in 3 women over 60. And that's because hormonal changes can affect our digestive system as well. I think some of the more common reasons are because of eating a diet that's too low in fiber, but also there are medications that can slow down your digestion, specifically the GLP-1s. And you may know from watching my videos, I am on a GLP-1. Actually did not experience constipation, but that is probably because I eat a very real food-based diet. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Again, there's just a lot of reasons why people can experience constipation. And I would say, even though my kind of specialty is in women's health, this information would apply to both men and women. So today we are going to talk about why it happens. We're going to talk about some natural and then some unnatural ways to address constipation, and also talk about when you would need to contact a healthcare provider. And then I'm going to share a really quick and easy drink that you can make, which is excellent for prevention. So we'll do that at the end. I also have a supplement I can show you as well. So again, there are so many reasons why constipation can occur, and it's actually very common. And of course, as I mentioned, a big reason is because many Americans are consuming the standard American diet, also known as a SAD diet or a processed food diet. And I would say, I think on the most recent study that I saw, most Americans are consuming about 60% of their diet from ultra processed foods. And those foods are very low in fiber. And what is fiber? It's basically plant material that does not get completely broken down in your digestive tract. And so its purpose is to help kind of move things through your digestive tract and help you prevent from being constipated. So having a lot of real foods can help prevent that. So we are talking about fiber-rich foods, so fruits like kiwi, vegetables, whole grains. And if you can't tolerate vegetables, because a lot of people have to eat a lower fiber diet because otherwise maybe they get diarrhea instead of constipation. So if you can't tolerate raw vegetables, like a lot of salads, or if you just find that eating vegetables causes digestive problems, you can try tricks like cooking them well. You can try more of the bland vegetables, like maybe zucchini versus something like kale. Zucchini tends to be easier to digest. And again, if you steam or cook well your vegetables, then that can make them easier to digest. So I would start small and slow if you are starting to add real foods to your diet, you experience constipation, and you want to, reverse that, obviously. Then hydration is also a very important component of addressing constipation. And that's because you need water to help move things through your digestive tract. So that water could be in the form of just water, but also things like tea. And a lot of people know that coffee can help stimulate the digestive tract. A lot of people use coffee in that way. And coffee in general will count towards your liquid intake, not necessarily, it doesn't always relieve hydration needs because coffee could be a little bit of a diuretic, and so it could actually make dehydration worse, but it does count towards your water needs. But of course you wouldn't want to just depend on coffee. We want to have really water as much as possible, and you can kind of gussy it up with like lemon juice, You could also do things like sparkling waters or those sparkling water drinks that you can buy, and they only have a little bit of natural fruit in them, not fruit flavors. It's actually real fruit juice. So Spindrift is a brand, and there's another one called Waterloo. There's a few of them on the market now. They have no sugar or no added sugar. Some other real foods that you might want to try adding would be fermented foods, and that's foods like yogurt and sauerkraut, and then also magnesium-rich foods, which would be like pumpkin seeds, spinach, avocados, those foods that are very rich in magnesium. You can also take a magnesium supplement. I'll talk about that in a minute. And then just real foods in general. So there are some foods that kind of would be more of like bulking and might actually back you up, like white rice tends to do that. And then any of the processed foods are going to possibly make constipation worse. The magnesium supplements, I think this one, magnesium glycinate, is a good one to take on a daily basis. Of course, talk to your healthcare provider first. And this one is gentle on the stomach, so should not give you diarrhea if you've experienced that with magnesium supplements in the past. This one tends to be more gentle. Now, there are forms of magnesium that will actually relieve constipation, and they can cause diarrhea, as I mentioned. And you can find those in a supplement form. And you might be thinking, why would I want to give myself diarrhea? Well, you don't want to do that. But if you're having constipation, then the magnesium in the certain forms can help relieve the constipation. So we're not shooting for diarrhea, but we're shooting for normal digestive function. And this one, none of these are sponsored. I'll include the link to both this one and the magnesium glycinate in the description. So this particular one, and there's many different forms of this type of magnesium drink or supplement that you make into a drink. You just mix it with water. You've probably seen the one called Calm that you can find at places like Costco or pretty much any grocery store at this point. And so this one includes magnesium citrate. And I think it's magnesium citrate and magnesium oxide are kind of known for helping to relieve constipation. And so this one it says start with half a tablespoon and work up to 1 tablespoon. And it also this one has like some dried berries, and like tart cherry has a little bit of calcium. And I think it might have, the tart cherry is a natural source of melatonin, which can help promote sleep. And so this one is kind of marketed as a sleep supplement. And so one thing that you can do is take a magnesium supplement at bedtime, and then hopefully the next morning you will be relieved of your constipation. And it's just going to be kind of individualized as far as how much you need to take, and do you need to actually take magnesium throughout the day. You're just going to have to figure that out for yourself, but I would say start small. So if you're going to do like a magnesium glycinate, which these are capsules, I would just start with 1. In fact, it says that the serving size is 1, and then it says as a dietary supplement, take 1 to 4 capsules a day, consume with food. And that's probably to help have a gentler effect on your system. So I think the idea is that with constipation, prevention and being proactive is very important, because you don't want to get into this situation where you go days and you haven't had a bowel movement. And I'll talk about when you would need to maybe even go to the emergency room in a minute, because that situation happened in my family and it actually could be life-threatening. So let's talk about some things that people do that I would consider not really part of a clean eating or a natural approach. And I understand if you are suffering from constipation, a lot of people have had it their whole life, that you get used to taking laxatives, things like that. But that's really not natural. We don't want to become dependent on an over-the-counter fix. Things like taking a magnesium supplement is actually very natural, and we would love to get all of our magnesium from real food sources, it turns out that actually even real food sources are in natural magnesium because our soil is depleted. And sometimes it's just really difficult to get enough magnesium from real food. But like, I know a lot in the GLP-1 community because constipation is very common. And that is because the GLP-1, which is a common weight loss drug, you've probably heard about it if you're not on it. It's like the Ozempic is one of the brand names. There's also a different brand version called Zepbound, or Wegovy, it's another one, Mounjaro. So they actually work to help you lose weight by slowing, one of the ways is they slow down the food movement in your digestive tract. So that's, like, as I mentioned, one of the ways that helps you lose weight because you stay full longer. But then one of the side effects, especially early on, when people start taking that weight loss medication, is constipation. So a lot of people I see online are taking like Miralax gummies or things like that, like the over-the-counter laxatives. And some of those have some natural-ish ingredients like psyllium husk. Now you do need to be cautious because some of those fiber supplements, like especially the psyllium husk, it's spelled P-S-Y-M, but you pronounce it psyllium. Those can interfere with medications, other medications, not every medication, but you just need to read the label. It'll say if that's an issue, like do not consume within 2 hours of your medication. So obviously, if a doctor prescribes you something, then that's, between you and your doctor. But as I mentioned, I don't think we want to become addicted, so to speak, or have our digestive system depend on taking a laxative to go to the bathroom. So let's talk about when is constipation a medical emergency. And as I mentioned, I had a situation in my family once. It was an uncle who had a surgery, and ironically, he is also a medical doctor. So I feel like he should have been aware of this, but he wasn't. And I know for anybody who's had a surgery, between the stress and you can't eat and all those conditions, maybe the anesthesia, you can become very constipated. And so my uncle went home from the surgery and he got a bowel obstruction. So that means that he was so constipated that it was essentially like lodged in his digestive tract. And that is a medical emergency. I think it can be hard to know the difference between being severely constipated and having a blockage. If you have any question about that, go to the emergency room. Some people could try like an enema, but I think that's probably it's not very common in our society now to do that. That's probably what they're going to do at the emergency room, but don't let that keep you from seeking medical help. And I think one way you would know that you were having a medical emergency is you're having severe abdominal pain, bloating in that area. Obviously, you have not had a bowel movement or any type of gas for several days. That is a sign that you have a blockage. If you have vomiting or high fever, high heart rate or fast heart rate, you have blood in your stool, if you are having anything like that, it's important to seek immediate medical attention. So it's not to scare you, but it is a really important topic. And because it happens so commonly, I think that's why I wanted to talk about it. And I'm going to show you a very quick trick, another kind of very natural way to help prevent the constipation, because as I mentioned, the prevention is really important. I think another thing, if I didn't mention it, because the low carb diets are so popular now, I'm not a proponent of low carb diets, but because when people are on a low carb diet, they might tend to not eat enough fiber rich foods because they think that carbs are bad, or foods like potatoes or sweet potatoes or anything that has starch, which might also have fiber, they're avoiding those. So maybe just eating more like animal-based and not having enough fruits and vegetables, like avoiding fruits, that can cause constipation. If you're on a GLP-1, you also might want to reconsider your low carb diet. And I would especially urge you to reconsider foods like berries because they're very low in natural sugars and they're very high in fiber, especially like frozen raspberries are a game changer. They're usually fairly budget friendly and they're very high in fiber. I think in one serving you can get about 6 grams of fiber. And so if you combine that with a very simple like chia pudding, which is also low in carbs, then and sugar, then you could get, 10 or more grams of fiber one snack or meal. So you can consider that. Now I'm going to show you a really quick drink that you can make. So I moved you around to my table here, and what I have are chia seeds. This is a giant bag from Costco. You don't have to buy a bag this big. This will probably last for a really long time. But as I mentioned, chia seeds are such a wonderful food for constipation, for preventing constipation. They're just really nutrient dense. They also have omega-3 fatty acids. They're a source of minerals like calcium. And the thing is, you don't want to consume chia seeds without hydrating them first, and that is because they could actually cause a bowel obstruction or cause constipation. So when I say hydrate, you just need to soak them in water for about 5-10 minutes. So what I'm going to do is I have a little jar here. I'm taking 1 teaspoon of the chia seeds, putting that in the jar, and I'm adding, I don't know, what is that, a half a cup maybe? I did a little less. So about a half a cup of water, and this is what we'd call hydrating. Now, the seeds don't always hydrate in all types of liquid, I've noticed, but they do hydrate in water. So for example, if you wanted to hydrate in the juice, I tried grapefruit juice and they did not hydrate. But this is just water, so we're gonna let it sit for a few minutes. So you can just stir it every once in a while, and over just a few minutes, you will see that the little seeds will start to absorb the water. They will get thick, and you can do this with, as I mentioned, other types of liquids. Now, they do usually hydrate with things like coconut milk or plant milks, and then you can make a chia pudding. I'll see if I can put a few recipes in the description box. And so what you want to do with this is really, you could either add this to a smoothie, you could add this to juice once it's thickened up. You don't have to drink the whole thing. I made a little bit of a lemon juice version with just the same thing, and then I added some freshly squeezed lemon and a little tiny bit of maple syrup. But they just kind of like magically absorb water, and then literally you can just drink it. And if you had this in the evening before bed, I guarantee you the next morning not guarantee, I can't guarantee, but most likely this will help relieve your constipation, and not in a bad way. As mentioned, we're not looking to have the opposite of constipation. We are just looking for regular bowel movements and comfortable, not constipation. So really, I like to just give it a little stir. So each little gulp, I will get some chia seeds and you just drink it. The chia seeds are a tiny bit crunchy. You don't have to chew them, but you can. And that is just a really simple anti-constipation drink. The other thing I want to mention is I am working on some resources for weight loss, for GLP-1s. I'm always trying to create helpful things for clean eating, the clean eating lifestyle movement, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to put a link in the description box. I'm specifically working on some GLP-1 resources. So I have a GLP-1 quick start guide with high protein, high fiber recipes. You can join that. And then I also have an ongoing clean eating quick start guide. So you can choose whichever one is appropriate for you. And on those quick start guides, I have recipes, and it's just a great way to keep in touch. So that is all I have for you today. I'm going to link to another video, which is about GLP-1. It's more like the basics of clean eating on a GLP-1, and I hope that's helpful. Let me know what other topics you want to see, and I'll see you in the next video.